guys, so in this video I'm going to be doing a gel fill on myself. I already did it, but I just wanted to run through the products that I'm using in the video. So to start out with, I'm using Cena brand UV gel, and I'm using clear to do my fill. And then I'm going to be using the Prep and Clean Dehydrate by ASP, and I picked this up at Sally's. Any dehydrator you have will work, or you can use alcohol. I'm also going to be using Something Wonderful Primer, and this is from nailiteink.com. And then I have alcohol here, which I'll be using just to clean up the dispersion layer once I'm done doing the fill itself, and then also to clean my nails before I go into the actual prep. You're also going to need something to push back your cuticles or to clean up your cuticle area. I'm using this pumice stone. If you are using a pumice stone, just make sure that you wet it before. And so what I do is I just take a little dapping dish with a little bit of water and I just stick it inside there. And what that does is it helps get into the corners to actually clean up your edges. So just going to need some files to do your shaping. And then your gel brush, I use this e.l.f. one. It's just a concealer brush that I picked up from Target for about $1.50. And then something to clean around your cuticle if you need it. I use an orange wood stick, but you can use anything. And then if you're wondering about the color that I have on my nails, I'm wearing this one here. I picked this up from banggood.com, and the color is 013. And again, that's from banggood.com. It ran about $4 for this one. So that about does it, other than your cuticle oil and your UV lamp. I'll go ahead and get started into the actual tutorial. Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing a fill on my nails. As you can see here, I have some gel polish on. And the first step is I'm just going to remove that gel polish. I already washed my hands really well. And then I'm going to be using a drill to do this. You can definitely use just a regular hand file if you're more comfortable doing that. I just, for the sake of doing this quickly, I'm going to be using this. I've already started on my other hand. Don't mind my pinky, I was just messing around with some glitter. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, but I'm going to speed it up so you guys don't have to hear the drill. And then I'm going to cut out this. Okay, so once you've done that and you got all the polish off, all you're going to do is make sure that you come around where the gel is, and I'm using a hand file now. And I'm just going to clean up and check for any lifting that I might have. In this case, I don't have any. And you can see the line here where the gel ends and my natural nail begins. So I'm just going to blend that line together. But I'm going really soft and I'm making sure not to file my real nail. So again, I'm just going around where that seam is and I'm making sure that it's nice and flat. And then I want to go ahead and shorten my nails a little bit. So I'm going to start doing that and just kind of shape the sidewalls a little. So I'm just going to take some alcohol and clean off the dust. So I can kind of see what I'm doing. So now I just need to make sure that I remove all of the skin that's built up over time. So all I have here is a pumice stone, and this is for in the cuticles, and then it's wet so that it's easier to remove that dead skin buildup. So I'm just going in with that, and I'm just going to make sure I remove all of the dead skin around my cuticle, and then I'm also including the sidewalls here, because that's where I personally get a lot of buildup. And if you guys hear my son in the background, I'm sorry. He's... So, again, I'm just going to spray that with alcohol. Make sure I clean it. Double check to make sure there's no skin buildup or anything. So I've already prepped my nails. I'm just going to go ahead and go in with some alcohol again and just clean it one more time to make sure I don't have any debris. Now normally when I'm doing this on myself, I work 2 fingers at a time, but so I'm going to be using Cena gel. I have an 18 watt UV lamp that's off to the side that you guys can't, and you do need a UV lamp an LED will not work to cure this building gel. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that over so you guys can see. So I have my gel and my gel brush. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dehydrate the nail, and I'm just going to do it where the new growth is, which is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry. And then I'm going to go in with my primer, and I'm just going to prime the same area again where the new growth is. I'm using Something Wonderful primer from naillightink.com. You can use whichever primer you have. And if you feel like you need 2 caps of primer, you can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up a ball of gel, and I'm going to start off with a pretty small ball of gel. We don't want a ton. We're basically just going to put down a thin layer at this point. So I'm going to set it down in the center of the nail, and then I'm going to float it to the back to where the cuticle is, and then I'm going to pull forward. And at this point I'm not building up the nail, I'm just trying to create an even surface to work on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pop that in the light for a minute in my UV lamp. So once that first cure's happened, all you're going to do is you're going to kind of look at your nail, and you want to determine the shape of the nail and what's missing. So if you look at mine, it's thickest here towards the back, which is the wrong place. You want it to have more thickness here in the stress area. Okay, so what I need to do, I need to build up my stress area here, and then my tip, the thickness is pretty good on that. I'm just going to put a little bit there, but mainly for mine, I need to build up that nice arch shape. So I'm going to have to concentrate mostly right there in the center in that stress area, and that's just to give your nail strength. Okay, and then that's going to vary for each person depending how much gel you actually took off during the prepping stage. So if you can see here, I have a pretty good sized ball of gel. And like I said, I'm going to plop that right in the center there where I want most of that volume. And I'm going to kind of float it back a little bit because we don't want it to be uneven. But again, I'm not going to get that on the cuticle. And I'm steering clear of my side walls. So if you can see, the shape's already better. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn that upside down to get a nice dome shape, because gel has a nice self-leveling. And it'll kind of shape itself if I do that. Now it's kind of cold in here, so it's going to take a little bit. That's the other thing, is if your house is really warm, your gel's going to be really runny. So you may want to work with cooler gel, but that's up to you. So now you can see I've got a nice dome shape there. I'm going to go ahead and pop that in the light. I'm making sure that I don't have any touching my skin or my cuticle here or my side walls. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pop that in the light. And this time I'm going to cure for a full 2 minutes. So now that I've got the volume built up on my nail, all I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it with some alcohol to get rid of the dispersion layer. And then you're just going to come in and shape your nail and file it as needed. So I'm going to do the sidewalls, making sure to keep them straight, and then file around the cuticle if needed to seal that. Usually with gel you don't really need to do that too much. So once you've gone ahead and filed, shaped, and buffed, all that's left to do is to clean the nails. So I'm just using alcohol again and a lint-free wipe, and then you're ready to apply your favorite fingernail polish or whatever design you're going to be doing. So that does it for this fill video. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave them down below, and as always, thank you guys for watching.